All right, so we're going to begin tonight. We'll do Parashat Vayechi. Very important lessons, valuable lessons from the Parasha. A lot of people may think that Parashat Vayechi does not contain too many lessons because it describes how Yaakov Avinu leaves this world. He calls his children, he has some last instructions for them, he gives them blessings, and that's it. The Jewish people go into exile. It's a short parasha, but the actual blessings are very, very important for us to understand. What exactly is he blessing them with? What could a father be telling his children right before he leaves this world? Many fathers, if they're still cognizant of what's going on, if they're still aware, if they still have their mind and they're healthy, hopefully they would prepare a will and they would spend the last hours or days of their life speaking about important things, good things. But a lot of people, what they do during their last days of their life is perhaps they make changes to their will when it comes to how to distribute their property, their money. That's what they have in mind. You get this, you get that. A lot of people, their focus is on money, distribution of assets, as they call it. Yaakov Avinu will not discuss anything of that. Not that he doesn't have, but that's not important. Not only don't you take it with you, but even if you were to leave it behind, are you sure you're leaving behind in the best hands? How do you know? Maybe the people that you trusted with your money in the past, you cannot trust that they will do the best with that money, that they will make the best use of it. So obviously Yaakov Avinu is not focused on money or any of his assets. He's concerned about his children, about the future of his children. In the same way that Moshe Rabbeinu, right before he passed away, spent some time talking to the Jewish people about their future, not only about that generation, but their children, their great-grandchildren, what will be with the Jewish nation. Moshe is concerned. He's the leader. He should be concerned. So he also has some valuable lessons to share with them. And so Yaakov as well makes good use of those days that he had to talk to his kids about their potential. Each one of those children has unique potentials, each one of the tribes. He's concerned that even though they may be good right now, and children may be good at a certain time of their life, but later on, there's always that possibility, shehem yitkalkelu, as we say in Hebrew, that they may get ruined, something may happen to them, they may go off the path. Things happen. So he's concerned about them and he wants them to know what is really important in life and what's not important. Make sure that you have clarity. What should be treated as a priority and what should not be treated as a priority. And you should know that each one of you is special in some way. He has to point this out because a lot of people do not even know the potential that they have, how special they are. A lot of people suffer from abuse because people tell them how bad they are. You're good for nothing. You will never make it in life. And that could be even true of a parent or of a spouse. If you talk abusively to the other and you put him down, you're killing his potential. You're killing his potential for growth. And everyone can grow. Everyone can grow and mature if you give him the time and the proper guidance. But you have to be careful how you communicate that to him. Yaakov is very careful. His kids are going to take him seriously because they know he's about to leave. So right before a person leaves this world, our sages tell us what a father says usually is serious because he has nothing to gain. What interest is there for him to lie or to say something that is not purposeful? So he's obviously going to say something that is very purposeful. Yaakov is concerned about his kids for a good reason. The rabbis tell us in Pirkei Avot, in the ethics of our fathers, Al ta'amin be'atzmecha ad yom motcha. Never trust yourself until the day you die. A person could be good and doing the right thing for 75 years. And even though Kabbalistically, the Kabbalah says that if a person has been good for the vast majority of his life, most likely he will continue to be so. But most likely it's not good enough. The rabbis here are telling us, Ad yom motcha, until the day you die, don't trust yourself that you can do the right thing under certain circumstances. If you're being challenged under certain circumstances, you may react in a negative way. And when we say react, it could be to yell, to get angry. We're not talking about physical abuse, to hit, or to steal, or to commit a very, very serious crime. We're talking about even to yell or get angry, which is bad enough. It's not just because it's not healthy to do so. It's simply, according to the Kabbalah, a person who loses control of himself, he's allowing the Yetzer Hara, he's allowing the evil inclination, the Satan, in other words, to take over him. He's becoming a slave of the impure forces. It's like he's selling his soul to the devil, as they say in English. So losing control is terrible, because you will say things that you will perhaps regret later on. So these things can happen to anybody, even to an 80-year-old man who was kind and charitable and good all his life, but he could lose it. So that's why the rabbis tell us, don't trust yourself, don't think that you're so good, even though you are good, but things can go wrong in the future. So therefore, Yaakov is concerned, rightfully so, that after he leaves, there's no more father figure, there's no more that figure who they can consult with, who they can look at and admire and learn from. Who do they have? Just themselves. And they are in a foreign culture, an alien culture, in Egypt, the land of impurity. The greatest impurities of all was Egypt, witchcraft and all the like. And the rabbis tell us that the Jewish people were sinking to the lowest level of tumah, of impurity, by being there for so long. And that is why Hashem had to take them out immediately. Had they stayed a little bit longer, they would have gone down to the 50th level. The 50th level is called the level of heresy, and they would have almost not been able to leave. Because the 50th level of tumah, what it does, it shackles you, it imprisons you. And you don't even know yourself that you're in prison. You think, well, everybody is around here doing what they're doing, and nobody seems to be complaining, everybody is used to it. That's how dark it is. When you're in the darkness of that kind of an impurity, you don't even know yourself that you're in trouble. And you don't even think of escaping and leaving. When does somebody want to escape? When he at least knows there's something better out there. Something that is beautiful, something that cannot compare with what he is in right now. But if you don't know that there's something better out there, then you figure that's all there is. So spiritually speaking, that is the danger that awaits the Jewish people as they're about to begin their exile. The exile begins especially after Yaakov leaves this world. So long as the tribes were alive, the rabbis tell us, they didn't really feel the pain and the struggle of being in galut and being in exile. But little by little, the galut, that exile, creeped up on them, and they began to assimilate to Egyptian culture. So here Yaakov is concerned especially because of Galut Mitzrayim. It's not just about their future, but because they're going to be in this land, that makes it even more complicated. That is why he has to teach them, or he has to warn them, how to survive this Galut for the time being. I say for the time being because this is a temporary Galut. Yaakov is going to reveal to them that you can eventually come home. But by the way, don't forget to want to come home. You know, what if the kids don't want to go home? What if they want to stay where they are? And that is the problem that we have in America. A lot of American Jews are very comfortable here. Go to Israel? Why should I go to Israel? I belong here, I'm an American, they say, or a European, or South American. Why should I leave? Unless things become very, very difficult. All of a sudden it becomes difficult, they remember, I think we should move to Israel. Why all of a sudden? And that happened throughout our long history. The Jews became very comfortable, whether it was in Spain or elsewhere, and they were reminded that they don't belong there until they were kicked out, expelled. America, the United States of America, was known to be a barren wasteland, spiritually speaking, in the 1800s. And there were Jews, believe it or not, who came to this country from Europe back then. And anybody that left Europe back then to come to America, they felt sorry for him, or they were afraid for him. He's endangering his life, spiritually speaking. They knew that the chances for him to survive on his own, not being part of a Jewish community, was slim. It would be a real battle. And how could you make this battle on your own? How could you wage this battle by yourself? And that is exactly what is going on in Egypt too. In a sense, it's a wasteland, spiritually speaking. So Yaakov has reason to be concerned about that. So he calls his children and he speaks to them. He gives them, of course, last instructions what to do with him, to bury him in Israel and so forth. And I'm sure he gave them other instructions. But more than those instructions, he puts great emphasis on blessing everyone. Why is there a need to bless? What is a blessing? What I think personally is very interesting about the blessings, if you look at the blessings that he gave each one, it's incredible. Because it reveals to you that Yaakov was a great man indeed. Because apparently, the way he says what he says, the way he describes each one, he has Ruach HaKodesh, he's definitely divinely inspired. He knows the essence of each one of his children, much more than any other dad. You know what they say, a mother knows her children maybe more than the father does. But Yaakov's description is very detailed, and it's incredible. It in itself says that Yaakov knew a lot about every child, about the soul of every individual. We don't have those kind of people today that can really tell you everything about yourself. There are some who know more, there are some who know less perhaps, but to really know the essence of the soul, what is your mission in life, it's difficult. What can be known, and that is based on astrology and other ways, other methods, are some of the capabilities and the skills that we all have. And each human being is unique, and that he has certain skills that Hashem gave him through his mazal, which would enable him to succeed in his own personal mission. But what exactly is that mission? The Kabbalah does give us some clues. There are clues that one can figure out why is he here for. What is the purpose of this reincarnation? What is his mission, unique mission in life? There are ways to figure out, but only approximately. We don't have the great Kabbalists, the great sages to tell us, listen, this is what you need to rectify, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to accomplish. We're pretty much on our own. However, it is still possible. There are great people in every generation. We're not completely orphans. There are great people out there that can guide us, that can help guide us and show us the way. So Yaakov does this. He shows the way to his kids by pointing out their strengths and their weaknesses. And the reason, of course, he points out the strengths and the weaknesses is because it's something that we need to be aware of. It's not just for fun. Oh, by the way, you are like this and you are like that. No. This is serious business. You have these strengths. Therefore, if you want to maximize your potential, this is what you have to cultivate. So you need to be aware of it, just in case you're not. And as far as the weaknesses, well, this is what you need to refine. This is what you need to work on. Nobody's perfect. People are born into this world for some purpose. We all have a mission. Part of that mission, for every human being, is to refine his character. That is why the human being, when he's created, he's the only one in creation where Hashem does not say the words, and it was good. Because good for Hashem means it's perfect, it's complete. It serves a purpose. Man cannot be perfect when he's born. We will only know so at his funeral. Depending what he did with himself, he has free will. He's given certain capabilities, but what will he do with them, that depends on his own decisions. We will not know that until he dies. So God does not say at the very beginning of the creation of man, he's good. Just like he said that about everything else. Everything else is good, because it serves a purpose, it's complete. It doesn't need anything else. It doesn't need my continuous intervention, except of course to maintain it alive. But man, I don't want to say he's on his own, but he pretty much has certain abilities where he can make decisions choosing between right and wrong, not the animals that live by instinct. So man has a job to do. Besides his livelihood, besides other things that he may need to do, he has to work on himself. But why is it so important to work on the midot? Why is that so? What difference will it really make? So we said, on a simple level, man can only complete himself and be the man that Hashem has in mind. Na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu, let us make a man in our image. He's not talking just about the creation of man, which he, of course, was describing that, let us make a man. He's also talking about the future. Once this man comes into the world, let us make a man, and I'm willing to help you. In the same way that I am a partner in the creation of the human being, Father, Mother, and Hashem, three partners. We have in the creation. We also have Hashem's help in the formation, in the future formation of this human being as he develops and as he grows. He needs to complete himself. A lot will depend on him. And when we say on him, it means not the mazal, it won't happen by itself. He actually has to make decisions. I want to study Torah. I want to be a better person, a better husband, a better friend, honest, devoted. Yeah, this doesn't come automatically. You have to work on these qualities. And as a human being, not just a Jew, as any human being, continuously works on developing himself, he will discover his essence. He will realize, wow, I didn't even recognize myself. I didn't even know myself. Until he has gone through all kinds of challenges and weathered the storm and did his best and fought for what he believes in very much. Until people go through all kinds of struggles do they really realize who they are and their great capabilities that they did not know existed. So that is why challenges sometimes are very, very good. It's not to test us so much as to bring out certain qualities, the good or the bad. And what's so good about bringing out the bad? Because you come to terms with it. Oh, I realized that I didn't know I was so selfish. I didn't know I can get so angry. I didn't know that about myself, but he or she brought that out of me. Oh, I see this, I have this weakness. And I need to work on it. You see, if everything was smooth and nice and sweet in life, we would not know the negative necessarily. But sometimes challenges present themselves that bring out the good and the bad, both. And that is when, hopefully, if we are fair and honest, we will face it. We will say, yes, I admit it. Well, admission is step number one. It's not all, but it's step number one for teshuvah, to repent, and it's step number one to bring about reconciliation between people who are not getting along. Admit it. Admit that you have this fault. It's like, it's breaking the ice. It says, yes, this is the way I am, but you have the problem that you have the following problem. Sometimes people say, that's the way I am, accept me or not. That's the way I am. No, that's not nice. You can't expect people to live with it. Yes, you have this problem, work on it. If you're going to work on it, fine. If not, it's no good. That's, nobody can be forced to live with a monster. So if the individual says to himself, yes, I have this weakness, and he's far from being a monster, of course, it's a weakness or two, and he says, I'm going to take the following steps to correct them, then at least there's hope. If he doesn't say, I'm going to take steps and I'm going to do that, or he does say, but he's lying, he never makes any attempt, then that's no good. It means that he doesn't really have an interest. But it's really a shame, not so much for the relationship or for a partnership, because people can break up, whether it's a marriage or a business partnership. You know what's a shame? That this person is not maximizing his potential. He can, if he wishes to, he can become a better person. Hashem does not hold somebody back from being a better person. Everybody can be more charitable, can be kinder, can be more patient, tolerant. These are all qualities that anyone can adopt if he makes the decision. But he has to make a decision. A lot of people are far from making a decision because they think it's too difficult, or they don't know that they are capable of doing it, or they simply are lazy, which is a big problem. So Yaakov Avinu is going to point out the unique strengths and weaknesses of every one of his children, and we're not going to go through each one of them, but just point out the main idea over here, that it's necessary. It's necessary for him to do so, because in the galut, in the exile that they will be in a situation which is much more difficult than anything they've known from before. They've never gone through this kind of a galut before. Many, many, many challenges. But Yaakov Avinu tells them, listen, let me remind you one thing that you don't know. As difficult as this galut will be, and it will be very difficult, midot ra'ot, bad qualities, is a worse prison than galut Mitzrayim. If you continue to live with your bad, negative qualities, you're in a prison yourself. You don't even know that. You're in a worse prison than in the exile of Egypt. To come out of the exile is easier relatively than to come out of your midot ra'ot and to overcome a bad quality. Bad qualities are not easy to come out of because it's part of our nature. It's difficult to change one's nature, very, very difficult. People resist it. Not everyone likes it. That people tell them, oh, you're like that, you're like that. It has to come from within. That's easier. When it comes from within, it's a lot easier than somebody tells them, you better do this, you better do that. People rebel against that. So how do you do it from within? How do you do it on your own? The trick, one of the tricks to do it, is to work on cultivating the good qualities. The good qualities that everyone has too, cultivate them to their maximum, and they will give you the strength to do battle with the bad. Because a person who's really kind, you think he will lie? Some things don't go together. They're contradictions, complete contradictions. So imagine somebody who developed kindness, charitable, tolerant, and patient with people. Imagine he develops these kind of qualities. He has a lot going for him, because these are very powerful, very valuable qualities. Kindness, charitable, patience with people, even people who are troublemakers. So this will give him the strength to do battle with his laziness, with his temper. It's a contradiction. You can't be very, very kind, charitable, and patient and also have a temper. So you see, this is a way around it. Instead of telling him, do battle with your evil inclination, you're an angry person, you bring out the worst in people, you do all these terrible things, you're a grumpy person, you're always depressed, all kinds of things. Don't talk about the bad. Talk about the good. And this is something that has always worked. Good teachers have known to use this strategy, this approach with kids, not pointing out how bad they are. You're killing him spiritually, and you're killing his growth. Point out how good he is and how much better he can become. By taking the positive approach, you're giving him the strength and you're building up his self-esteem. As we say in Spanish, su autoestima. You're building up that which everyone needs. Everyone needs that self-esteem to be built up, because that will give him the strength to, yes, I can. Yes, I believe in it. Yes, I know it's important. Some people don't think it's important. Senators, people who have been elected, they may think, well, I want to be re-elected, so I better act nicely. I better do this and that. They're never thinking of their own self-improvement for themselves, to be a better husband at home. They're thinking of their position, so they're not real. To be a real person, not a faker, requires understanding what the purpose of life is. What am I going to gain out of this? Why should I be a better person? We've spoken about that. A lot of people are not motivated to work hard, and it is hard work. They're not motivated. Why? So I can have a better marriage. Well, what will that give me, a better marriage? I have my food, I have a roof over my head, I have my kids, and they don't see how beautiful it is when two people care for each other, love each other, respect each other. That's powerful stuff. It is. To have a strong bond, that's inseparable. Once the strong bond is there, it's beautiful. Not everybody has that. Now, some people have a nice, good marriage, but they don't have this strongest one. They don't have fireworks in their relationship. That's fine. Everybody has a different kind of relationship. The dynamics are different in every home. But at least there's respect. That's the bare minimum. At least respect and cooperation. Respect and cooperation is the minimum. If you don't have that, then forget it. It's worthless. So even though there's no fireworks, what do I mean by fireworks? Oh, my husband always forgets my birthday. Oh, he doesn't send me a card. He used to, and he stopped doing that. Valid complaint, but it's not the end of the world if at the very least he makes up for it. Once in a while, he buys a gift. Once in a while, he says a kind word. And she or he knows that it's genuine. It's not a fake. Then okay, he makes up for it. He does his best. He's so busy, he's not focused, he's distracted. Does that mean he doesn't care about her? He's not respectful? It doesn't mean that. It just means that he's in his own world. Should he be told? Yes, you could remind him in a nice way. It means so much to me if you do this. Okay. He'll try. And even if he doesn't, even if he fails, it still doesn't mean that he's a bad person. Good or bad will take a long time to determine. There needs to be a track record of a couple of years to see, well, this is the way he's been. He's been good here, he's been bad here, he's been good here. Overall, he's okay. Well, count your blessings if he's okay. Don't count your negative, count your blessings, because nobody's perfect. Today is a very, very challenging world, a very, very, very challenging life. It's not the same way that it used to be in the past, when there was much more time for each other. Today, our time is being robbed by the TV, for those who have a TV, by the internet, the news. There's so many things that robs time. And because that time is being robbed from us, people don't realize it. That is affecting, it's taking a toll on their relationship, on their marriage, on everything. They're being distracted. They think this is so important. It's not. Your relationship is more important. Your kids are more important. That is a real investment, not the news, and not the additional investment that you're going to make. So this is a prison, in a sense, that people are in today. A prison of their bad qualities, a prison of being immersed in all of these vanities and all this materialism that is robbing them of the time and the love that they should be showing the affection to their dear ones, not to the materialism. But if people are more in love with money, if that's what they worship, then of course they cannot succeed in any relationship, not even with the best wife, because they're more in love with the materialism. And the same thing happens when the women are more in love with materialism. And they don't really give the attention to the husband, who may need the warmth. He may need that. Some men don't need as much. Some men need more. And if he doesn't get that, and if he feels deprived of the minimum warmth and affection, then it's killing him. He's suffering. And it takes a lot of intelligence, and of course the help from Hashem, to be able to come to the realization I'm doing something wrong. The reason I say it takes all that realization is because being told by other people may not do enough. A lot of people go to psychologists, a lot of people go to marriage counselors. That in itself may not be enough, even though it's worth a try. I said before, it has to come from within inside. If you on your own want it, after realizing it, after learning about it, you're convinced, logically it makes sense to you, then there's a chance. Being told by others is good, but it may not be enough. So Yaakov points out the good qualities of his children, reminding them, cultivate this. This is your potential for greatness. And this will give you the ability to overcome any weakness that you may have. Very few people maximize that potential. They forget about the important things in life, and they focus on the things that are not meaningful, and they don't realize they have great potential. Let me share with you a story that happened years ago, where a young man was aiming to be a rabbi, so he had to be tested in order for him to receive semicha, ordination. So, in order to really be knowledgeable in the laws, in the Jewish laws, in Shulchan Aruch, you have to study quite a bit. Depending on the nature of the exam, depending exactly what kind of ordination you want. So, this young man came prepared to be asked all kinds of questions in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Law. But he was surprised by the following question. The rabbi asked him, tell me, did you learn the 5th volume of Shulchan Aruch? He said, the 5th volume? I thought there were only 4 volumes. There was 4 main sections. There's a 5th? Yeah, he says, Tiyeh ben Adam. It's to be a man. Be a mensch, as we say in Yiddish. To be a good person. What good is it if you know all the laws of all those 4 sections in the Code of Law, and you're so knowledgeable and you memorized everything, but you're not a decent human being? That you don't know how to get along with people, how to make peace amongst them. You don't care, you're not sensitive. What about that? Did you learn about that? Derech Eretz kadma Torah. The rabbis tell us, Derech Eretz, good conduct comes before Torah. That is the foundation of Torah. On that you can build. But if all you're going to stress and emphasize and care about is the rigid, strict law, no, that's not good. Yeah, of course, it's important to know the law, but if you don't have the foundation of good nature, good character, then how are you going to get along with people? That's more important, apparently. That is a priority. Another example of how people really mess up their priorities, not realizing what's really important. There was a young girl in this community, somewhere in Los Angeles, that was engaged, and she got the gifts most brides receive. And she says, I'm not going to the chuppah, I'm not going to the ceremony, until my ring, my stone, is as beautiful and as big as my sister got for her wedding. I want the exact same thing, nothing less. She's not going to the chuppah, she doesn't want to get married until she gets the same from her groom, from her chatan. Could you imagine? She values the stone much more than her husband. She's not thinking about marriage, she's thinking about the stone. It has to be the same, or better, of course. Same color. Same color and size, he says. What's this? Who taught her this kind of things? So that's what I meant by materialism. You know, is this what you emphasize? Is this what you care more? This says a lot about you. You know that. You think you can make a good wife by emphasizing this? I can just imagine the complaints that are going to be coming every Monday and Thursday. You know, about this and about that. If already from before the wedding, there's already complaints about the size and the color of the stone. This is not just one case. There are many cases like that, perhaps not with jewelry, but with other things. The most important thing for the couple is the relationship, not the size of the bedroom, not the furniture, nothing of that. That doesn't matter. It will come. Whatever comes, comes. Whatever Hashem sends you, you'll get. But the relationship is up to you. It's up to the couple to make of it what they want to make of it. You will notice when you read about the blessings that Yaakov gives his kids, there's tochacha, there's rebuke. He rebukes them. Look at Reuven, it's a good example. Shimon, there's rebuke. What's the rebuke for? The rebuke is important. This is called in English constructive criticism, I believe. Constructive, it's coming from a father who loves his children. He's not after you, he's not against you. He means it for your own well-being. Good rebuke ultimately is for what? It's for the tikkun. It's in order for us to rectify, in order for us to refine ourselves, in order for us to maximize that potential that we have. We need to hear, we need to be prepared to accept criticism. Not everybody was willing to accept criticism. Yaakov therefore includes that criticism in his berachot, in his blessings, his last wishes. I'm going to criticize you, I'm going to let you know your faults. It's for your own good. You need to hear it. Because the ultimate goal of the rebuke is to rectify you, to make sure that you don't forget who you are. You need to remember who you are, the good and the bad in you. It's interesting, if you look at the production of coffee and chocolate, if you read about the history, it's a fascinating history, especially chocolate. How chocolate was discovered a couple thousand years ago, by the way. Cocoa, the cocoa bean. And ever since they discovered it, it became better and better. They didn't have sugar in the chocolate in the beginning. There was no chocolate, it was a drink. The Aztecs used it as a hot drink. It was bitter. And when the Spanish came to Mexico, they said, whoa, what's this? They were served that. For the Aztecs, it was a very, very special drink. But for the Spanish, it was something that they couldn't take. Until later on, when they brought it to Europe, and they added sweeteners, sugar, and they made good stuff from it, that every one of us likes. And ever since, chocolate was further developed and enhanced. That's what the industry is all about, to make it better, to refine it. Can we take this cocoa bean and make something even better from it? And same thing with coffee. How to grind it, how to maximize the bean to its perfection, how to roast it, how to grow it. So once they discovered it, they realized the qualities that it has, they continue to refine it, they continue to try to figure out what way can they make this a better product. And the same is true about the human being. He continuously needs to think, wait a minute, this is the way I am, but I'm not stuck. Even people who have been 300 pounds, really overweight, they have lost a lot. And you wouldn't recognize, unless you see the pictures before and after, how they look. And it's incredible. Look what determination does. It enables even somebody who's in such a bad situation to correct it as best as possible. There's always hope. Yaakov Avinu, therefore, puts a great emphasis on pointing out the good and the bad, because he says, you will need to know this. You will be presented with all kinds of challenges that will bring out the best and the worst in you. Be aware that this is what you have, and be careful on how you react and how you deal with the situations. This area called Avodah Midot, working on one's character, is therefore of prime importance in the Jew's life especially. One does never retire from working on this. The Jew does not retire. He's always serving Hashem. He's always praying, he's always studying Torah, but also he's always working on his midot. As we said earlier, it's not that when you're 75 years old, that's it. You're not going to get angry anymore. You're not going to fall back. You're not going to stumble. It can still happen. So therefore, this is something that we always need to work on, to strive to perfect ourselves. And And some people just never do it. In their entire life of 70 or 80 years, they never corrected one midah, one quality. And as one great rabbi said, if you did not succeed in correcting even one midah, then you've done nothing in your life, nothing of importance. What that means is that we can definitely make some improvement if we try. Every day should be a gradual growth. Every day, not just once a year. Every day, it's a gradual growth. It doesn't happen overnight. But we have to aim for it. We have to want it. And we're not going to want it if we're not aware of its importance. Rabbis tell us that when people work on themselves and they really give of themselves for the right things, then they are fulfilling the verse that says, Kabet Hashem me'oncha. That verse that says, honor your God from your fortune. Me'oncha. What does that mean, to honor your God from your fortune? The simple meaning is Hashem gave you fortune. Share it with others. Share your wealth. But the rabbis tell us the reason why the word mehoncha was used over there, not any other word that can also represent money or fortune, is because mimash Hashem chanan otcha. The rabbis are telling us that this verse was worded in such a way to remind us, honor Hashem with the skills that He gave you. Mimash chanan otcha. He bestowed upon you certain good qualities for a purpose. Honor Hashem with those qualities, with those skills. You have a good, beautiful voice, then use it to be a chazan, to sing, speak to people. You've been blessed with a lot of money, share it, be charitable. You've been blessed with other skills with your hands, you know how to write beautifully, perhaps be a sofer, write a mezuzah, write a sefer Torah. Everyone has some skill. Use it for Hashem. Use it for something good. Don't be selfish about it. So kabet Hashem lecha, when we maximize our potential, the skills that we have, and use it for the right things, we're giving kavod, we're honoring Hashem with what He gave us. He gave us these skills for a reason. Use it for those reasons. And everyone in this world has something that's unique to him, something special that he can contribute. That is why I always remind people that it's important that as parents we point out the good qualities in the children. And the reason why it's important to point them out is not only because of what we said earlier for their self-esteem, for another reason. You want them to become aware of that early on. There's another verse, for example, that says, Chanoch lana'ar al pi darko, gam ki yaskin lo yasur mimenu. Train a child or teach a child, guide him early on, according to his abilities, al pi darko. If you do so, gam ki yaskin, when he will be older, lo yasur mimenu, he will not let go of it. If you train him early on, if you give him the instruction while he's still a young boy, there's a good chance that it will stick with him. And it will enable him to follow that path on his own later. He will want it on his own. He won't have to be told. If you give it to him when he's 20, 30 years old, it's much more difficult. He will resist, especially if he's of a stubborn nature. Therefore, you want to bring it to his attention, the earlier the better. Then there's a chance that it will stick with him. Gam ki yaskin, even when he's older, lo yasur mimenu. There is a beautiful story with the Chafetz Chaim, where a father once came to the Chafetz Chaim. He says, Rabbi, please bless my son with yirat shamayim, with the fear of heaven. We all know fear of heaven is very important. And the Chafetz Chaim tells him, I'm sorry, but that's something that you have to acquire on your own. Fear of heaven, you don't get in a blessing. You have to work on it on your own to come to that level of fear of heaven. And then he continues to tell him the following. You know, my mother shed many, many tears on the Tehillim that she had, crying out and praying to Hashem that her son, meaning himself, should want to be a God-fearing Jew. Look at the tears. He had the Tehillim of his mother. It was soaked with tears. This is what the mothers of once upon a time prayed. Not that my son should be a doctor, like many mothers want. A doctor? You want him to be a doctor who's rude, who's abusive to his spouse? What kind of a human being do you want him to be? Doctor, livelihood, that's from the Mazal, from Shamayim. What will he do with himself? Will he be a God-fearing Jew? Will he be friendly with people, charitable and kind? Pray for that, even though it's going to take work, but pray. That's what the Chafetz Chaim's mother did. She cried and soaked her Tehillim through and through with those tears. So in the end, as we said earlier, in order to begin the process of refinement, we need to be accepting of people's criticism. Without that, it's not going to work. Because even though it's nice to say, be a God-fearing Jew, and if you're God-fearing, you're going to, of course, want to do the right thing. It doesn't work like that, because you don't just become a God-fearing Jew. It has to begin with the first initial steps of being willing to hear what others have to say. The others are going to point out to you, are you willing to listen to their advice and to their criticism? If you don't have that willingness, then on your own, without anybody's advice, without any criticism, to figure this out on your own, it's very, very difficult. There are people who have done so without criticism. I'm not saying no. But we're talking about people who have a lot of work to do, a lot of rectifying, a lot of correction and adjustments in their character, in their relationship with you. You have to be willing to hear criticism, otherwise it's not going to happen. So Yaakov puts all that criticism into the Berachot. He says, you had this problem, you did this, you were mistaken by doing that. Pointing it out to them, but they shouldn't forget. Now they're older, they're adults. They hopefully matured and realized this on their own. And now they're hearing it from Yaakov. They're not hearing it from the Paro, from somebody else. They're hearing it from somebody that they can trust. This is their father. So rabbis tell us, when it comes to midot, character, refinement, always work on yourself. Be active in that area. This is not something that you do once in a while. And that is where we have the movement, the Musar movement that began in Europe about 200 years ago. So where the rabbis put a great emphasis on Jews learning books on Musar, Jewish ethics. Read the book, see what it is that you need to adopt in your life. It will be like someone is criticizing you, somebody who's pointing it out to you. Not a human being per se, but a book. And perhaps it's less embarrassing when you read it yourself, or you learn it together with someone else. It's a good thing, by the way, for a husband and wife to learn together something that they can both appreciate and be on the level of understanding. Learn 5-10 minutes every night. It will bring the two of you together, it will create a bond, and it's very informative. A person works a whole day, he eats, he sleeps. What did he do? Work, eat, sleep. Of course, if he's Jewish, he prays too, but learn Torah, learn Musar. Otherwise, you're going to have your life go through very, very quickly without accomplishing too much, spiritually speaking. Always, therefore, look, what is there to correct? What is there to rectify? One way to figure this out, by the way, is what the rabbis tell us, K'neh lecha chaver, acquire for yourself a friend. Acquire. It didn't say make for yourself, find a friend, it's acquire. You know what acquire means? You have to work hard to make friends. You have to be a friend. If you're not going to be a devoted individual, they're not going to reciprocate. Most friendships and relationships today are very shallow, because people don't invest in them. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I have hundreds of friends. He doesn't even have one true friend. To have a true friend, you have to be a true friend. K'neh lecha means acquire, go out of your way, even if it takes money, invest in it, make an effort, travel to see him, and share as much as you can with that person your life, because otherwise, how are you going to ever make a good friend? And what is the goal of that friendship? Because if he's a real good friend, you will listen to him. And if he points out something where you're wrong, you may listen to him much more than 1,000 speeches of a rabbi. That's what we're told. A good friend's rebuke is more powerful than 1,000 speeches of a rabbi. A rabbi could be very charismatic and know what he's talking about, and powerful in his message, so what? A good friend, if he tells you off, might be a lot more effective. So this is a valuable asset. Now imagine if you're lucky and your wife or your husband is your best friend. That is rare. That is not very common. Some couples, of course, are very, very close, but they're not necessarily best of friends, where one will want to hear the criticism of the other. They're different. So get yourself a friend. Anyone that you want. Develop that friendship. Over time, you will see that you can gain a lot from it. So one of the best friends of a Jew is the Torah, besides a human friend. Without Torah, a Jew does not have orientation. He has no guidance whatsoever. He will not know right from left. And it's not just about halakha, the Jewish law. It's about doing the right things in life. It's about focusing on what's important. Without Torah, how is he going to be reminded? He's going to think about his dinner, and about his breakfast, and about his lunch, about going on vacation, about taking a trip, about buying a new set of furniture. Wait a minute, is that what life is all about? The Torah doesn't emphasize that at all. Build up your relationship with your spouse and with God. Be a better person. That. Are you spending time on doing that? What are you doing? What are your efforts in the direction of becoming a better person? So without Limud Torah on a regular basis, without learning even 15 minutes a day, there's no way that the Jew will have the strength to fight off the evil inclination. There's no way that he will have the proper guidance, that he will remind himself what he needs. No way in the world whatsoever, I guarantee it. He learns, even if he's learning by himself, which is not ideal. You want to learn with people, you want to learn in a class. But let's say you learn by yourself because you know enough to learn on your own, and you don't fall asleep. Let's say, it's better than nothing, because it will awaken. It's like the caffeine in the coffee, it keeps you awake a little bit. Yes, this jolts you. It will jolt you into realizing that perhaps I did something wrong. As long as you're honest and sincere. A person who is, what's the word for it in English, who lies to himself, he's in denial, then of course, learning Torah will not help him either. He's really missing out a lot because he has nobody to point it out to him, and he himself will not gain because he's in denial. He's deceiving himself. Then he has a big problem. Then he needs urgent help, getting rid of that denial. As we said before, you need to admit that you have a problem. So if this person has this problem of denial, very, very difficult. So the Torah is indispensable for a Jew. The good news is that today even women are learning Torah. Something that did not occur 100 years ago. Till before World War II, nowhere in the Jewish world did the women really immerse themselves a lot in learning Torah as they do today in schools. I'm not talking about outside of school, at home. A woman has her own responsibilities at home. She has to devote her time to her husband and kids, to the home. So she's exempt from learning Torah and from any mitzvot. But today there's more of an emphasis in the schools. Why? How did this become? Everywhere, any country you go to, Jewish girls are going to school. And what are they learning? Not just math. They're learning Torah. What is applicable to them? Why? What happened? In the olden days, a girl would grow up with her mother. She would be at home. There was so much tmimut. There was so much sincerity and purity in their mind, the way they were raised, that they didn't need that much. The mother, the father, they were the examples, and they knew the basics. They knew what they needed to do. They didn't have to know more. Today, because the challenges are greater, because we're being exposed to a whole different kind of world, and back then, the girls have to be more educated, and they have to acquire more knowledge of Torah, because what this Torah will do for them is, when their husbands come home, they will have the strength to point out certain things to them. In the past, they didn't need that as much. Today, they need that. Not only for themselves, because they're being exposed to a different kind of world. Not only for themselves, for their husbands. Their husbands need it. But where are the husbands going to get it? From their mother? They're married. From their father? They don't see their father. Friends? They may not have friends. Partners? They don't care. A rabbi? They barely see him. They don't make an effort to see him. Torah? They don't study. What's left? The wife. So the wife better be equipped. Better be strong. Of course, strong, but sweet as well. You don't want to just be strong and give it to him. You want to be sweet about it. So she has to have those qualities. And where is she going to pick it up? From school. And from a seminary in Israel, for example, a lot of girls after high school go to seminary. They are exposed to a beautiful spiritual life in Israel, the holiness of Israel. They gain a lot. Anybody that spent the whole year in Israel, if they're in a good place, of course, not just milking cows in a kibbutz, but in a good place of learning, they really grow. They really become stronger. And the stronger they become, hopefully, they will be equipped to be very, very strong in their homes as well. Rabbis tell us that is why Yaakov lo met. Yaakov did not die. What does it mean he did not die? They buried him. It means his message did not die. That's one explanation. The message that he gave over to his children, the message that we see in the Torah, is still alive. It's as though he didn't die. Rabbis also tell us that any father who leaves behind good kids that follow his path, it's like he never died, because he has kids and hopefully grandchildren that follow that path. He himself, by giving instructions where to be buried, I don't want to be buried here in Egypt, I want to be buried with my forefathers. That in itself is a powerful message for future generations, to the Jewish people. Always remember to go back home. Always remember that you belong with your forefathers. These are your roots. Your forefathers, don't forget about it. Even though now you're in Egypt, you're not Egyptian. This is not your culture. This does not belong to you. Remember where you belong. So Yaakov Avinu, through his example, through his instructions, gave over a tremendous, powerful message for future generations. If you're ever in trouble, you're ever in exile, don't forget, this is not your home. You're only temporarily here. Eventually, make an effort to go back home. And that is why I don't want to be buried here. What's wrong with Egypt? No, I want to be buried with my forefathers. But they're dead, yes, but I want to be there too. Because I want you to always remember to strive to get there too. Not to get accustomed to the exile. Not to make roots where you are right now. And as I mentioned various times, the greatest darkness of the exile is when people don't even know that they're in exile. They think they're home. This is my home. A lot of German Jews said, oh, Berlin is Jerusalem. We don't have to put those words in the prayer book that one day we should go back to Jerusalem. Berlin is our Jerusalem. What kind of thinking is that? Where did you get that from? They forgot the message. We belong there. That's what the message is about. So if they don't remember, sometimes they will be reminded by the Gentile who will kick them out, who will persecute them. Well, what did I do to you? I only helped you. I was only nice to you. Your economy prospered while I was here. The golden era of Spain, for example. What was wrong? Spain was a big empire. Well, what happened now? Empire? Very far from being an empire. But that's what happens. You know, the Jewish people did bring a lot of blessing where they went. And when they left, it caused problems. You can see it all over the place. But they had to be kicked out. On their own, they didn't remember. So what happens in Egypt? Same thing. The Egyptians remind them that you're not Egyptian. They make them work, you're slaves. Had they had a beautiful life in Egypt, then they would have stayed. Many Jews wanted to stay in Egypt. They died in the plague of darkness, the Midrash says. The Egyptians have to remind the Jews, you're not from here. But unfortunately, after Yaakov dies, after the tribes die, that's when the shi'abud, the bondage, begins to take hold. Little by little, they become more accustomed to Egypt, and the Egyptians take advantage of them. In order that we should not forget where we come from, who we are, the Nabi, the Prophet, says, Abitul tzur. You always have to look back to your forefathers, who they were, where you come from. They were very special. They were willing to give their lives for Judaism. What happened to you that you're not so willing like they? Remember where you come from. Remember your roots. The reason for that is because sometimes it's very possible that a person may be very, very distant from Judaism. He may be at a low, he may be depressed. He may not think highly of himself. Who am I? I'm a nothing. And they remind him that these words are not just to remind us where we belong. They remind the Jew, listen, even though you may not be so special, even though you're a simple plumber or beggar or barber, regardless, very simple person, not a very prestigious position that you have, not a very, very special family that you belong to. Remember your roots. Your roots are special. Remember who your forefathers were. And a lot of people, if they can trace their family roots, they will see great people in their family once upon a time. You know you could be great yourself too. So look back and remind yourself where you come from. On the other hand, sometimes lineage is not such a good thing to think of in a very highly way. A lot of people take credit. Oh, my grandfather was a rabbi. And I tell them, so what? What about you? Don't tell me about your grandfather. They like to take credit with their forefathers. I said, that's very, very nice, but what about you? So let's not focus on them. Let's focus on you. What are you going to do? What are you going to make of yourself? People need to know that they can always do something with themselves. There's a beautiful story with the Magid of Mezrich, the rabbi who took over the leadership of the Hasidic movement from the Baal Shem Tov. When he was a boy, their house burned down. And he saw his father crying. He says, "Dad, why are you crying for the furniture, for the house? We'll replace it." "No, my young son, I'm not crying for material things. But in this house, there was a scroll that had our lineage way back a long time, hundreds of years. And that was so special to me. It was a rare manuscript, a rare document. It meant so much to me because it had contained the entire lineage of our family, our roots." So this young boy tells his father, "Father, don't worry about your past lineage. I'm going to begin a new lineage. A new lineage will begin from me." And that's what happened. This great rabbi began a new lineage. In other words, it's very nice, of course, to look back, and it's important. But remember, you are who you are. You have your own responsibilities. You can make something of yourself, and hopefully you will be example. You will be an example for future generations that will come out of you. So Yaakov does that too. He tells every child, "You are special in your own way. Don't think about me right now. Don't think about everyone else. Think about yourself." That's why I'm pointing out who you are, because everyone is special in some way. Just want to finish with the famous midrash that Yaakov wanted to reveal to the Jewish people when Mashiach will come. What for? When he is about to reveal that, remember, he's not revealing the Achishena date, but only the Eita date. There's two dates, two possible dates. The last possible date is called Eita. Achishena means I will speed it up. Mashiach can come tonight. Hopefully he will. We want him. We don't know. We have to pray that he should come, the sooner the better. But if he does not come soon, he will come at the last possible time. There's a certain date that I guess most people do not know, that he will come. Only Hashem knows. Yaakov knew when that date will be. He did not know the Achishena date, because that can be sped up at any time. He knew the last possible date. And Hashem concealed that information in the last moment from him. Don't reveal that. He wanted to reveal it because he wanted to instill hope. You're going to be in a diaspora. You're going to be in various exiles. Just know there's light at the end of the tunnel. One day you're going to come out of it. Don't despair. Don't lose hope. That was partially his intention, to instill hope in people who are in the darkness of exile, not knowing how this will end, when it will end. Hashem, of course, did not want him to tell the kids because it's far away. Why give them that information when it's so distant? But he felt that perhaps by letting them know that this is going to come, and this has something to do with the tikkun of the olam, to rectify the world. Because right now the world is totally not rectified. If anything, it's in chaos. What happened with Adam Arishon, that the sin of Adam, where he and his wife rebelled in a sense against God, that is a big problem today. The world needs to be rectified. Look, coming of Mashiach will bring that rectification. And he's talking about rectifying oneself, one's character, and the world too. So he wants to talk about rectification. Hashem says, no, that's something that is best not known. But the fact that he told them that this will happen at some point was important, was significant, because they need to realize that at some point this is going to happen, and this you need to aim for, this you need to pray for. This is the Ikar. We want Mashiach to come. We want to aspire for that. We want to aspire to come out of the Galut. We do want to pray that there should be a Tikkun Olam. So therefore Yaakov Avinu did want to discuss this, and I don't know how much he did, but he did want to talk a little bit about Mashiach, because this is something that Jews have to be continuously reminded. This should be something that we should always strive for, aim for, pray for, and ask Hashem to bring it about quickly, because in the end, we're not here for ourselves, we're here to serve Him. And we will be able to serve Him better, Bezat Hashem, very soon Mashiach will come. Amen.